feeling is what they want. Oh yeah! That feeling is what they get.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, he's so cool. Yeah. Oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do the thing. Oh my god. I can't tell if I want him or if I want to be him. You ever watch someone, an artist, a player, or performer, and you feel like you are them? I'm not just talking about admiration, but like identification. You're not just watching, you're possessed. But time goes on and you realize you're not them, either seconds later or years later, and maybe you get a little jealous. No? Just me? Word. Okay, yeah, cool. Sometimes, not all the time, when I'm listening to my favorite artists, I found that I'm holding a weird agitation. This coexists with that feeling of identifying with them. It's like I'm totally enamored, but I'm also judging them. And then I'm judging myself for comparing myself to them or judging myself for feeling lesser. And I just get confused. If I love them so much, why am I also critical of them? Why do I also feel this weird animosity? I call this the parasocial agitation. They can affect you and you feel like you know them, but you can't affect them back. That's what makes it parasocial, one way. I think it comes from seeing someone externalize something you've only ever internalized. It's like they reached into your soul and plucked out something you wish you could have said first. Somewhere in your heart, you know that they're doing something you wish you had done or were doing right now. This is really potent when you're witnessing someone in your own field, in a lane that you feel like is yours or that you've told yourself is yours. If you're a musician, other musicians. If you're a gamer, other gamers. The trouble is, you only partially get to decide what you become good at. And the people that we admire have this thing. They have a way, they make it look effortless. It seems like what they're showing is descended from a cloud above, fully formed. It seems so obvious, and it could have been you, if only. And more painful still, if you feel this way about someone, odds are other people do too. Your admiration of them risks turning into disempowerment. The more you fixate on their image, the blinder you become to their flaws, and to your own potential. A few years ago, I was struggling to overcome a competitive plateau in Smash Ultimate. I had put in hundreds of hours both at home and in a tournament environment. I believed fundamentally in my raw talent, and I still do, but I was struggling to put the pieces together. I decided to take a leap, have some fun, and buy a Metafy lesson with the then undisputed champ, MkLeo, best in the world. I had had technical coaching before, some really good sessions. Something like that wasn't my goal here. I know that the best players are not necessarily the best coaches, but I wanted to prod at his mindset. My goal going in was to get to know the guy behind the controller just a little bit. While I think focusing on the broad strokes was smart, I was also unknowingly falling into a trap. Among other things, I asked him, "What players do you, the best in the world, admire?" "No one," he said. He made a stipulation that has stuck with me above all else from that lesson, even above that one game that I did cheese from him. He cautioned against admiration as a whole. He said there are players he loves to watch, play he finds beautiful, but admiration is different from appreciation. It creates an impassable gap. When you admire someone, at least in the way MkLeo understood the word, it puts them in another realm and tells yourself that they're untouchable, when really, in competition, you should try to do whatever you can to feel as enabled as possible, and to treat yourself both as someone with the potential to win in the future and the worthiness of being a winner in the present. Leo said, "Who do I admire? Brad Pitt." He said he's a great actor, and that he thinks he's very handsome, but even then, when considering somebody in a field that he'll never be a part of, he's a pro gamer, not an actor, he uses it only as fuel for his fire. In his words, he wants to be the Brad Pitt of Smash and doesn't put someone like that above himself. How awesome is that? And at the time, I was both disappointed and inspired by his answer. I think I wanted the best of the best to be mortal too, to be a little insecure. But I think it is ultimately an uplifting message. Towards the end of that hour-long session, I asked, is there anything specific I can improve on? To which he replied, no, not really. And, no way this could be true. I'm not winning. But now I know he said this not because I was perfect, but especially with so little time, the details are incidental in the face of the process. It's the flow between the decisions that give them shape. Anyone in isolation is just missing the point. My Brad Pitt is Edward Van Halen. Duh. Even as I admire Eddie's playing, I also feel a little competitive with him, as ridiculous as that might sound. And I don't mean just musically, but because of his presence. Beyond striped guitars or tapping, that's the thing that I want. And this is the kicker. Admiration becomes an ego trap if you're not careful. You stop trying to express something, the reason you loved it in the first place, and you start trying to measure up. And celebrity is a tricky thing. It feeds that parasocial jealousy. But admiring your friends can be really tricky too. If your homie does or makes something that resonates with you, you can actually interact with it and with them. If you can get over yourself enough, you can ask them how they did it, and you can affect them back. If you let jealousy consume you, you might put them down. But you can learn from them. You can know their flaws and gain perspective about just how much they were winging it. You can humanize their achievements, but you might also be more vulnerable to resentment because it's harder to make excuses about what they can do that you can't, because you're on the same level. And all of this is not black and white. I can think of a Smash-specific example that's sort of in between a friend and somebody I looked up to. As I was transitioning from maining just Link, Big Link, to Young Link, my main influence was a player in my local scene at the time. I was living in Maryland, named Zexy. I was able to watch his play and appreciate it, but also play games with him and ask him specific questions. And the biggest thing he always told me was to cook my own meals, in his words. Basically, that even he didn't know why he would do the things that he did. And if I tried to play exactly like him, it just wouldn't work. So it's really great to internalize the details, but then when it's game time, you gotta just kind of go. There was a beating heart that was not contrived that made his gameplay magic. You have to feel yourself, you gotta set it and forget it a little bit. What brought us to the character of Young Link might not be the same thing. His secondaries were like Kirby. For me, it was Marth or Big Link. He might have liked that high action per minute, small scrappy style. For me, it was about the appeal of the character, a sword, stuff like that, wanting a better Link, basically. So yes, you have to cook your own meals. Sometimes I ask myself, would I want, or even could I be a friend to Eddie Van Halen? And I mean, maybe, if I weren't trying to be him. If you've ever read the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, you might remember a description of people in two categories: shooting stars and falling leaves. Shooting stars bend the world to their path. Falling leaves, they drift. And if I ever feel characterized as the latter, it feels dirty. But let's think about those supposed shooting stars. MkLeo, Eddie Van Halen, Brad Pitt. They weren't copying anyone, at least not fundamentally. Eddie Van Halen might have started out by learning Eric Clapton solos note for note, no one's denying that, but he's also quoted as saying that he'd rather go broke playing his own music than be in the world's biggest cover band. Maybe easy to say if you got that kind of writing chops. And among these shooting stars, there's always a community aspect too. MkLeo has talked at length about not only his internal motivation to want to be the best, but the external motivation that supporting his family back home gives him.
I was a really fortunate person because of what I do. I do what I'm passionate about and I make a living out of it. I'm fortunate that also changed the life of my family and basically everybody around me.
Similarly, musical contemporaries that saw Van Halen live in their infancy remarked that it wasn't just their skill that set them apart, but the degree to which they engaged the crowd. It was unparalleled. And Brad Pitt, Well, he co-founded Plan B Entertainment, and he sort of sunk into the background a bit and enabled the production of amazing movies like Moonlight. And the external piece of being a shooting star, if we're going to call it that, isn't just about uplifting others, it's also about looking around as much as you look in. Great art, and yes, I'm including great play in that, has a contextual awareness. It's called for by the zeitgeist.
You go on to state in the book, if you have an idea you're excited about and you don't bring it to life, it's not uncommon for the idea to find its voice through another maker. This isn't because the other artist stole your idea, but because the idea's time has come.
These people, these so-called shooting stars, have opened a door to a path that seems inevitable, like it was always there. And now that the door is open, others may walk it too. Like, you can't tell me that Astrobot is the next Mario Galaxy. What made Mario Galaxy is that they did it first. But that doesn't mean that Astrobot isn't a super fun game that added to my life. It's got some different strengths and serves a different purpose than the time it came out. Another guitar legend, Dweezil Zappa, son of Frank Zappa, was friends with Eddie Van Halen. Eddie even gave Dweezil the guitar he's playing in the video on screen right now. And still, he emulates him to this day. Copying is always there, and it's super fun. Finding your own voice can take a lifetime, and still, it's a worthwhile pursuit. So, what do you do with all this? Thankfully, one of the biggest shooting stars of the game development world, Masahiro Sakurai, has some advice for us. Act now, decide what it all means later. Just do it. If somebody inspires you, it's not productive to deny yourself that, or tell yourself that you're behaving like a falling leaf. If you're inspired or jealous because of something that somebody else does, it means there's a part of you that has that same strength. And in the process of translating that inspiration to something material, it will inevitably come out differently in your voice. This is not a zero-sum game, and inspiration opens doors. But I guess what Leo was trying to say is that admiration holds you still, which has its place, I guess. If you only focus on the pieces rather than the process, it'll always ring hollow. Yes, to others, but more importantly, to yourself. You might always feel like a fraud, although I sort of think this doesn't entirely go away no matter what. And there are levels to emulation. It's cool if it's trying to not be something else. A cover band can come from the heart. Playing covers has taught me some of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned about what it means to play for the audience. And early Van Halen cut their teeth with cover gigs too. Every supposedly original idea is basically a remix. A true GOAT acknowledges their influences when they're there.
I just want to say one thing, that without the things that you have done, I couldn't do half the things that I can do now, including, the echo stuff.
Well, forget your marriage
No,
life.
wait a minute. No.
But the process is what makes it something new. You don't get to totally decide what that looks like, it just comes out. Eddie Van Halen wasn't trying to be Eddie Van Halen. He was trying to be all the things he loves in a childlike way.
When he's playing his music, it sounds the way it does because he's just like a puppy running in a field.
He took inspiration from what was around him, didn't deny himself the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants, kept at it, and kept talking. I mean, just listen to what his own son has to say about it. Someone who is the closest to actually being able to be him or play like him.
I want to do stuff with video games when I was little. I was just all about that. I was like, I want to be a video game designer.
The Grammys asked you to play Eruption as a tribute for your father.
I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. Dad would have been like, why the hell would you do that? It's like, I'm my own musician. I'm my own person. I've done everything I can to find my own sound and to be my own musician.
I'm not sure I know how to make this an actionable item yet. It's tough advice to take, and I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody. But the point is this: don't deny yourself identification or inspiration in the face of something dope. But notice when it makes you feel less than, and when that feeling guilts you and not motivates you. Now, don't misunderstand me, don't be weird about it, but if you feel like you are Brad Pitt, you are Brad Pitt. What you see in your heroes, that's yours, not theirs. And hopefully it can help you acknowledge that who they are to themselves is separate from that too. Brad Pitt is a thing inside you, for real, for real. So consider sharing it, if you care to, in spirit. And finding your lane, so to speak, that's hard. There's not just one. And sometimes maybe the answer is you just have to let yourself be different things in different situations. Let yourself just be a fanboy in some lanes. Geddy Lee from Rush has a whole ass baseball shrine in his home, and you don't see him trailblazing on the field, but I also don't think he's kidding himself either. His intention is set depending on the domain. In music, he is Geddy Lee. I suppose in baseball, he still is, maybe just with a contribution that's more celebratory than revolutionary. And that is just fine.
What's the verb? Contribution. My favorite word ever was contribution. Did you try? Go climb the tree. Here's my favorite poem. I saw it inscribed on a rock by an anonymous poet at the base, just short of base camp on Everest. Go climb the treasure mountain. Do not return empty-handed. Where are you now? That's some GPS shit.